After a recent cheating scandal in week number 4, we're taking on Stuffled Ian, coach of the Orlando Solar Beartics, in week 5 of the NBA Draft League to see if we can try and win out our season in order to still make playoffs. Now, we do definitely have a pretty terrifying matchup here with some of the best threats in doubles, but I'm hoping to overcome it this week, and if you guys want to stay tuned for that, of course, make sure you guys watch the team builder so you guys know what we're bringing to this match, and if you enjoy and want to see more MDA content like this, leave a like below and subscribe for more content. With that said, of course, quick plug as well, if you want to become a channel member today, just a couple dollars a month, and you guys can get some extra live bonus builders. But for now, we're going to go through a quick synopsis of what I ended up bringing and why. Starting off with, of course, my opponent's team. My opponent's team consists of Ogerpon, which has all 4 forms, but none of them can Tera. This was a nice way to hopefully balance Ogerpon, because otherwise it would be broken. They also have Volbeat, Jirachi, Landorus, Therian, Dondozo, Lampent, Bombardier, and Wigglytuff, with the Tera this week of course being on Jirachi and Dondozo. This definitely is a pretty terrifying matchup. Jirachi is a pretty decent support option, though thankfully not nearly as good as it was in previous generations due to the loss of Follow Me. And Dondozo obviously with Tera can do a lot of shenaniganry, and despite the lack of Tatsugiri here, it should still be pretty potent. Now thankfully the Landers can't Tera, but that still will not stop it from being a problem. It's probably still about as valuable of an S tier pick as Iron Hands was, just for very different reasons, and that Intimidate will definitely influence a lot of how we'll have to play this week. Starting off though, I do think that we have a pretty good win con in this matchup, being a Tera Dragon Heatran. Now, Tera Dragon Heatran should be an amazing Ogerpon check, and it's also going to be a really good check to pretty much everything in this team, due to the fact that the only really reliable way that my opponent will have to take me out is either running Dondozo with Order Up, which while it is a pretty good option for my opponent, I'm not 100% sure they'll bring due to the lack of Tatsugiri, and then a random Tera Fairy option from Jirachi or Dondozo. Otherwise, Tera Blast, Dragon, Heat Wave, and Earth Power should go pretty hard into my opponent's team, and especially if my opponent does go with some random Tera Dragon option, or really anything that would potentially resist fire and ground, we should be pretty good here just to spam Tera Blast. This should be able to creep any sort of slower mons, namely a slow Landorus Therian with very little investment, and then our special attack here overall should be really important for breaking most of these walls. Moving on though, we do have Ting-Lu with a Sitrus Berry this week with Stomping Tantrum, Ruination, Taunt, and Lash Out. With the bulk, we should be able to take on any sort of Sword Dance Landorus, and we should be able to completely wall out any sort of +2 Stomping Tantrum thanks to our Tera Flying. With the Stomping Tantrum, this should be a great way to hit most of the opponent's team, and we do have Ruination just in case my opponent ends up going for any sort of resistance to my ground type attacks. With Lash Out, this should be a great way to damage Landorus Therian, especially after Intimidate, and Taunt should hopefully help get around any sort of Curse Dondozo, which might actually be kind of terrifying for the comp. Moving on, we do have Iron Jugulis with the Booster Energy. This ends up going with the booster speed set to try and get myself some tailwind, just in case if I end up needing a fast mode here. And overall with this, we should be able to creep any sort of adamant mons like Ogerpon and Jirachi. So then if my opponent does outpace at the very least, if we did switch this in after popping booster, we know for a fact that my opponent did end up going for a plus speed nature here. With Dark Pulse and Hurricane, we should be able to hit my opponent's team for plenty of damage, and I did need the Hurricane at least for some sufficient damage on mons like Ogerpon, so I figured I may as well risk it here. Going into my Sinistra here, we have an Agua Berry set with Life Dew, Matcha Gotcha, Triggerman Hex. I decided to ditch Strength Sap because my opponent's Dondozo, while Curse could be valuable here, ultimately isn't going to be Dozo Giri, so I didn't really need the immediate Strength Sap, and I figured that healing up mons like Iron Hands, Ting-Lu, and Heatran would be more valuable in the end. Hex is going to be great since my opponent does have a lot of good grass resistances, and I could try and make off of the burn to try and make this move do some more damage. We have Iron Hands with the Clear Amulet to try and stop it from taking more damage from Landorus Therian's Intimidate, of course, with Ice Punch, Wild Charge, and Fake Out being plenty for offensive stabs. We have 64 HP and 252 Fizz Death to try and take on the Soft Sand Landorus in order to make sure that we can get off a really strong Ice Punch and take that mon out quickly, since it is pretty annoying for Ting-Lu despite the fact we do have Lash Out for this. Finally, we do have Thea, of course, our Squawkabilly making its debut, with a Choice Scarf using Parting Shot, Brave Bird, Lash Out, and Final Gambit. This is essentially just going to be cheap Staraptor, with the 204 speed making sure that we can creep anything that would realistically creep into my team, allowing us to deal more damage to Pokemon like Landorus Therian with the Final Gambit, making sure that we can hopefully KO any sort of practical set. Meanwhile, with Brave Bird, we should be able to also guarantee kill Pokemon like Ogerpon. The rental's going to be on screen here and in the description below. This is actually the first rental all season that we've used that you guys can actually probably bring to the ladder. So in case you do want to try the team out yourselves, if anyone does, let me know how it does. And with that said, let's start our battle. All right, and we're here today with our very first game. Well, actually, no, our first game of our week 5 set, I should say. We're taking on Ian, who ends up bringing a team consisting of let's see. Let me pull this up actually. So I know that there's Wellspring Ogremon. Okay, I didn't expect Wellspring as the Ogre form, but I did prep for it. Shouldn't be too bad. No Landorus. Wow. Okay, that's actually not too bad. Let's see. So they have Wellspring Ogrepon. They have Dondozo. This is Tera Fire. Jirachi, which is Tera Ground. They also have Wigglytuff, Bombardier, and then they have Volbeat. Okay. So I think that realistically my lead should always be, thankfully they do not kill Heatran with this. No Lander is huge. That does mean I kind of wasted a Tera on Lu, but it's still fine. It's not a terrible Tera. Heatran's frankly just going to be my Terramon, like I thought I would be bringing anyway. I feel like I just go with Lu, not Lu, I think I just go with Heatran and Shuggy. And then I think I just go with Hands, and then I'm not really huge on bringing the Lu or the Squawk here. So Squawk was kind of just meant to be like a Lando killer. I'm not opposed to bringing it still, but it's a lot less valuable knowing that Lando's kind of dead. So I'm not really looking to bring it. Okay, let's see. Also, I gotta fix my sheet because right now it is showing, yeah, okay, so there we go. Perfect. Okay, yeah, because it was showing Dondozo as Tatsugiri, etc., etc. It was just really funny. Okay. So my opponent, oh, that's our boost strategy. Never mind. Okay. So let's see. So they lit off with Bombardier and Volbeat. Good to know, actually. Game 1 lead, and then game 1 lead. Okay. So I think that my play turn 1 should always just be to go for Heatran on a Heat Wave here with Heatran, and then going for Tailwind and just trying to match their speed. Because Heatran just outpacing my opponent will be valuable. They shouldn't have any valuable like ground options. The best thing Volbeat can probably do is Struggle Bug. They didn't even go for any sort of... oh, so they're not Sash Volbeat. So not only are they not Sash, but they're also not going for Tailwind with Prankster, which is very good. They're going for Tailwind and Bombardier, though. That's definitely interesting. Then I'm assuming that Struggle Bug was the play from that Volbeat there. Perfectly fine. We're going to proceed to probably just, again, Heat Wave, in all honesty. I will most likely Tera with Heatran when Dondozo comes out, but otherwise they don't really have a reason to. But Dondozo does kind of just go in. So they're going to go into Carry Gold. I'm assuming that's Rachi? Yeah, that feels like a Rachi. Okay, well, they could be Tera Ground on this. I still actually do need to Tera my Heatran, which is still perfectly fine, because realistically, Heat Wave still mauls even if it is Tera Ground, and then I can just go for Dark Pulse into Carry Gold and then just try and get the flinch. And that should be hopefully faster, even if it's Scarf. Actually, I do guarantee. Well, actually, technically speaking, I don't actually creep this because I crept down to Adamant Ogrepon, forgetting that Rachi could technically be a Scarfer here. But frankly, if it's Scarf Rachi, one will know if it does outpace this, one will know that it's max speed Scarf or basically max speed Scarf. But more importantly, too, we'll know that whatever move it's locked into, it can't really do a lot to us. They're gonna go for Tera Ground on Rachi. It's perfectly fine. Game 1. Back Tera. Okay. So this is perfectly okay. Dark Pulse will go off here. That does still outpace, which is good to know. So that means that... Ooh, they got flinched. That's a little unfortunate. But I'm assuming they were clicking Tera Blast there. So I don't think they really did a lot. And they avoid Heat Wave anyway, so... I mean, it kind of makes up for it, because I think that might have... Frankly, I feel like that matters way more. I feel like that matters way more, personally. But, I mean, who am I to know? Frankly, I don't know their spread. They're gonna go into Dozo as the other mon. Okay. This is still fine. I think I just go for the Heat Wave yet again, because there's no reason not to just go for the burn at the Dozo. And then I think I just go for the Dark Pulse into Jirachi. They didn't bring Ogrepon, and they didn't bring Bombardier. They didn't bring Wigglytuff. Okay. Both are fine. They have Gleam on Rachi. Okay, yeah, that's actually very interesting. And they're Life Orb. So we know that they're Life Orb on Rachi. Okay. This is perfectly fine. So Rachi's dead. Heatran's just kind of going in. I think Heatran's claimed every kill so far. Ooh, okay, Dondozo died. And they have Avalanche. That's actually important to note. Let's see. Okay. Alright. So I think I just bring in Sinistra here, and then I just go for Dark Pulse plus Matcha, and that should win. Yeah, this should be a nice clean 3-0. Which is going to be really valuable, actually. Just getting that diff early on will be more than beneficial to my opponent's team. Thankfully, I'm not really needing the redirection that I thought I might have needed, so this helps a lot. And even if my opponent does try and protect, I can always just get the speed advantage back up, assuming that Dozo even does potentially outpace me. But Lily should be able to claim my last kill here, which is going to be good. Okay. Oh, we just barely missed. Still honestly fine, because even Avalanche will not KO my Sinistra. It's doing a lot of damage for sure, but again, it's not really going to matter a lot when I have Iron Hands in the back. It's Tailwind petered out, that's fine. Yeah, I just go into Iron Hands. Sinistra should just claim the kill at this point. It's just a guaranteed KO with Matcha Gotcha. We saw that. Dozo at best will just maybe claim something, but I cannot see that happening. Okay. Well, we're just going to Wild Charge, and we're just going to Matcha. And that should be game. Okay. So, definitely a solid game 1 for sure. Was hoping for a little bit longer of a game, but it is what it is. I mean, we're just bringing fairly offensive teams. But, okay. So, going into game number 2, they did not bring Ogerpon. I really thought Ogerpon would come. The Volby also, we don't know anything about it. Besides the fact that it's not Focus Sash, technically. But otherwise, we don't know anything about it. Bombardier, we know has Tailwind. I frankly forgot to pay attention to what other moves it has. We did not get a lot of information. I feel like my opponent got a lot more information than we got from them. I do know at the very bare minimum that the same 4 could probably come very comfortably. There's actually not a reason to bring Squawk at all, other than to show it off, I guess. There's not really a reason to bring Ting-Lu at all, because they didn't go with the Lando, which was kind of, like, it was meant to be a nice Lando lore. It's not terrible here still, to be fair, but since they have Avalanche on Dozo, it's even less good. Like, I can't even just tear around it. They don't have any other special offense besides Rachi. Though, I mean, actually, Rachi probably was their only special offense, if we're going to be honest. Let's see. So I feel like that my lead is still probably Annette and Sybilla here. I mean, I don't really think I need anything else. I think these 4 honestly just kind of go in, because my opponent shouldn't be able to put up a lot of pressure. I mean, I could in theory bring Thea. I feel like Thea going for Intimidate isn't terrible, but Wigglytuff could maybe take advantage of that. I'm pretty sure it does get competitive. I mean, even still, I feel like it just doesn't deal a lot of damage outside of Final Gambit. I could bring Sara. Sara's good in the Rachi at least, if Rachi comes again. And I could, to be fair, Tera around Ogerpon. It's not really a huge deal. But they don't have Intimidate, which, again, my big damage was meant to be off of Lash Out. So I feel like this Mon is kind of useless. Like, I feel like, I don't know, I think that Hands might just be the better Mon. I think I'm gonna go with, I feel like they do go with the Ogerpon if they have, for now I think I do just bring Iron Hands. I think realistically the only way that they bring Ogerpon is if they have a fairy move, like Play Rough. I know it gets Play Rough, but if they have it, I think they bring it. If not, I think it kind of just sits the bench, and I think sadly they have the best 4. Again, I feel like the Landers could have done really well into this team, but without Lando, I mean, they do struggle a lot with the Iron Hands late game. Okay, they're gonna go with Dondozo Ogerpon. Okay, Dondozo Ogerpon is fine. I can still go for my Tera on Heatran, and then I can just go for targeting the Ogerpon, and then go for a Tailwind here. We know at the very bare minimum that they're not, actually what I could do instead, I could just Hurricane into Ogre, and then I can just go for Protect. That'll help a lot with just not needing to burn my Tera immediately, which will be beneficial at least, you know, if I can get my opponent to think I'm not going to go for Tera, or that maybe I might Tera my Ting-Lu instead. That could be kind of nice. Also, if I could just kill the Ogerpon especially, that's really good, because that could potentially be a nice follow-me option for my opponent. And I don't really need the Tailwind this turn either. Hurricane's going to pop. That should deal a lot to Ogre. Perfect kill. Okay, sweet. So that means they weren't super bulky. Perfect. They have Stomping Tantrum. Okay, Stomping Tantrum. Definitely important to note here. So they have Stomping Tantrum and Avalanche. Really solid Dozo. I'm kind of curious on the item on that. I feel like it might be Assault Dust. They're on Maple Hill. That's a Wigglytuff. Okay. That's perfectly fine. Alright. So I think that my play here should just be to go for... I feel like they could definitely just go for a Trick Room. I'm not going to go for Tailwind just yet. I'm going to go for Dark Pulse and a Dozo. And then I'm going to go for... Kind of go for Tera Blast. I I could go for Heat Wave, to be fair. I think I'm actually going to switch into Iron Hands here. Because even if they're going to go for something like a... So they might just predict around the fact that I'd be going for Tera Dragon for one and then just go for Avalanche this turn, which would be really good for me, actually. But even still, even if they go for Tantrum, I mean, I'm easy to take, like, Soft Sand Landers Earthquake. I'm not, on a Stomping Tantrum, I'm not really too concerned with Dondozo Stomping Tantrum of all things. Holy shit, that did a lot of damage. Okay, well, Iron Hands is taking a lot. Good to know. They do kill the Dozo there, that's fine. Yeah, I just bring in Sinistra here. And then we should be able to go for Matcha Gotcha plus Fake Out. I could definitely just Fake Out into the Wigglytuff spot, or I could even just Fake Out into the Dondozo spot, actually. I think that might be better. No, I think I Fake Out into Wigglytuff, and then I just go for the dual target. Because I potentially burn anyway, which is kind of nice. I feel like there's a good chance that Dozo just goes for Protect or even Tera here. And the fact that Dozo hasn't gone for Tera yet, I mean, my opponent now, okay, so they are going for Tera Fire Dozo. That's great. Because that will make it a lot easier to KO with Heatran at the very least, which is probably going to be my best way to break this mon anyway. So I'm kind of okay with that, in all honesty. Now, it's going to take Matcha Gotcha really well, and it will avoid the burn. I could still just kind of kill the partner spots, though, and be fine. So we're going to take out Wigglytuff. Well, we're not going to take out Wigglytuff. We're going to take it out of commission for this turn, at the very least, though. We deal an okay amount of damage with Matcha Gotcha, actually, but they're going to pop a Sitrus Berry, which is perfectly fine. It's good to note for item. Okay. So they are going to be Tera Blast Fire. Good to note. That actually doesn't deal a lot of damage, though. So I'm pretty okay with that. Let's see. I'm gonna go for Life Dew here. And then I'm gonna go for a Wild Charge into the Wigglytuff. This way I can heal up my Iron Hands a bit, so even after Wild Charge I don't necessarily just drop. Since Wigglytuff does have a lot of HP and it's very shallow defensively, so we might take a lot of recoil from this. But at the same time, just getting some good damage off of Wigglytuff, yeah, I mean, we almost killed right there. So I could probably just go for Matcha Gotcha and then just attack Dozo on the following turn, which will be good. If they kill my Iron Hands, so be it, but I don't think they will. Wave Crash, okay. So they are probably Assault Vest. Like, I feel like that's the only reason you run a stat like this, which I'm kind of okay with, but still, it's just good to know. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna go for Matcha Gotcha, and then I am gonna go for the Earth Power here. I don't think that I should be burning my Tera immediately. If they predict that, good play on my opponent's end. Oh, we might even just kill. Come on, Matcha Gotcha. Can I get the kill? Oh, just barely miss. Okay. Unfortunate. If I went for Hex, I might have done it. I do think they're going to play around the Tera. I've seen Stomping Tantrum from their end, so I don't think that they're going to... I feel like they're not going to clear Stomping Tantrum here. Because they know that I know that they have it now from this game. Avalanche. Okay, perfect. They go for Avalanche into Sinistra. And we take that, actually. We take that very well. Agua Berry really coming in clutch here, because this mon is just so fucking bulky. Okay. So I'm curious about that last mon. The last mon will make a big difference in if I even Tera my Heatran or not. Kerrygold, that's Rachi. Okay, perfect. Very fine. Okay. So I think I just go for the... Hex here. And then I just go for... Heat Wave? Yeah, I just go for Heat Wave. And I just claim my kills. They're gonna go for Gleam. That's perfectly fine. Again, I don't really have a reason to click my move yet. So I mostly clicked Heat Wave because I know I'll outpace Sinistra, and then if I miss Dozo, I could have claimed, but that worked out well for me. Perfect. Okay. So now going for Tera and Heatran worked out really well for game 2. Really short game this week. Holy shit. This is like our shortest game yet. Like, I don't know what to do, frankly, because we're very under time. I guess we can give a really quickly just, like, go through of things. But hopefully you guys enjoyed for one. If you did, like and subscribe for more. We're currently, as of the time of recording this video, at 3-1. Now, I will need to add in, this will probably be, I'll have to add in the segment afterward, because, again, I can't even give, like, an accurate standings update or, like, a playoff update. I do think it's kind of important just going into this week, though, because depending on my game with Dell, I might be clinched for playoffs, actually, by the time this recording ends. So, I'll have to add in some stuff after this. So you'll actually see an outro, a completely separate outro, from this point onward. Now, I did just want to quickly take this time, since after last week, we've put ourselves in a lot worse of a position for playoffs. For context, if we didn't end up getting the forfeit loss to Dell, we would be doing pretty good, which obviously that's on me. There was no way I was getting around that with the team I brought. If anyone truly disagrees with that, I encourage you to go rewatch that video, up the ad time, and then comment back here, because again, highly think that it was deserved, but it did obviously put us in a pretty bad position for making playoffs. Now, we are still actually currently, as of this week, in contention. Beating Ian was a huge victory, and it does put us at the 4th seed overall guaranteed. I was looking through standings. They're not currently up to date on the dock for week 5, but doing some quick head math, all of the people who were 3-1 ended up winning the week, being Pat, Mac, Cherry, and Gert. Sorry for spoiling that for you guys. I know a lot of the people upload on Wednesdays, but you guys are here for the playoff update, so it kind of figured this is important. I'll throw a spoiler warning on screen just in case. If I didn't do that, you can put a timestamp or something in the comments, and I'll pin it. So we are at 4th seed though. We're the only 2-win team in playoff 2-loss team in playoff contention right now. So a little bit sad, because we could have probably been like 2nd seed overall, maybe even 1st seed overall if I didn't end up playing the way I did, because frankly there were ways I think I could have done this to where I wouldn't have gotten a forfeit loss, even with the team just lying in the back. So if only I was a little bit more proactive. It is what it is. Still stand by the decision to focus on Toronto over focusing on prep here. But regardless, we are currently 4th seed. Winning out does mean that we guarantee playoffs 100%. We do take on Gert and also Incog for our final 2 weeks. So taking on Gert actually does give us a little bit of a luxury here, because if we can beat Gert by a lot in our week 6 game, then this means that we might even have leeway to potentially lose a game going into week 7. I don't believe that Cherry and Patmac play, but I will actually double check that while we are going over this, because that's another very important game in terms of, actually they also play this week. So this is a very big week, because Cherry and Patmac playing actually does give us luxury to lose one more game, as long as it's less than the loser of Patmac and Cherry ends up losing, if that makes sense. So after beating Ian, I believe the difference in differential should be, I think it's like 3 from Patmac. So it would be easier, obviously, if Patmac ends up, it should be by 3. So if Patmac ends up losing to Cherry, that would actually be a lot easier for us, but Cherry losing still isn't bad either. They're not that off in differential. Since looking at Cherry is only 4 ahead of us in differential. So it could definitely go either way, to where whichever team ended up losing, if we just end up winning by more, we will actually probably be fine, because we just need to make sure essentially that we're keeping really high diff at this point to give a little bit of a safety net going into week 7. Now, that's not to say that we can't still make playoffs even if we lose to Gert. I would probably just need to go for like an 8-0 into Incog, and that would probably be the best way to make playoffs at that point. But thankfully, with Cherry and Patmac both playing in week 6, that actually does help us a lot. And I'm curious, just who does Gert play? Because that also, okay, so Gert plays Ian, which is also another pretty big game, because Ian would be the next in contention coach out of anyone in the roster, besides maybe like a QSN who ends up playing Cherry again. So we do have options at the very least, even if we do lose one of the games. We do need to win at least one though, if not both. Both would be a lot more comfortable though, frankly, in order to make playoffs. So hopefully we can still make this. I do feel confident in the team, if nothing else. I think personally we do probably have the scariest draft in the league. I'll still stand by that. Even if, of course, I'm maybe not playing it to the best of my capabilities, I still feel confident that we do have one of the best teams in the league. But hopefully you guys will still stick around regardless. We do have 2 more weeks until the playoffs, and either way, I've had a really fun season, so even if we don't make it, it is what it is. If you guys enjoyed though and want to see some more draft content like this, leave a like on the video and subscribe for more MDA content. We're going to have some other videos as well in the meantime. I believe Friday will probably be the next upload, maybe Saturday. Still catching up a little bit from Toronto. I have a members video to get up for tomorrow as well, so I do have to work on both of those obviously, but I appreciate the patience nonetheless. If you want to become a channel member, speaking of, we do have a Como video going up tomorrow discussing Como's viability and regulation E and also going forward. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that, of course. We also have these live MDA builders if you want to see the team building process. I find it really helpful, obviously, just when I was learning draft to just look through and see a lot of why people bring certain things, or really the A to B to C to etc. how to get to the final team. So if you are interested in just learning that sort of process and just seeing it from a more practical end rather than hypothetically, of course, this would be a great way to try and learn that aspect, and it might just help you in your general VGC building, seeing how to handle taking on different threats. Current channel members, of course, are going to be Zeke, Mia, Timo Mueller, Rao, Obo, Johannes B, Double, Endless Gadgets, Ben Bambi, Josh Shiggy, Ultra Player, and Incog. Your guys' support is greatly appreciated. Also, speaking of, in terms of just the higher level play aspect, we are going to be bringing some streams soon. I think I mentioned this in the update and community post yesterday. If I didn't, then I meant to. We're gonna be bringing some streams starting next week, hopefully. I'm working on organizing some stuff with potential TOs in the scene to hopefully run a weekly Thursday tour. So keep an eye on that. I will announce it on the channel, of course, in other videos if it ends up coming to fruition. Might take another week or two, just because obviously organizing a tour that last second, it takes a little bit of time. But I'm hoping to start it as of next week on Thursday. So if that ends up happening, you guys will see a link immediately to signups in the description of pretty much like every video, because it'll be a weekly tour. That's really all I have for updates. This one was a bit of an update portion just because of the fact that there was a lot to go over for both the season and the channel. So just wanted to mention that. With that said though, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, guys.